Women Taking the Lead, episode 139.
Only hire A's. So A plus A equals A. And that's about attitude and, A players, B players, C players. So you want to hire A players because they will hire other A players. If you hire less than that, then they kind of stay at that level. And really it's all about attitude.
Hello, my name is Jody Flynn, and welcome to Women Taking the Lead, where we are all about creating blasts of inspiration to help you overcome self-doubt so you can lead with confidence, integrity, and a sense of humor. Head over to womentl.com/recognize to reserve your spot in our upcoming webinar on how to be recognized and rewarded for the work you do. Now, your future awaits, so let's get started. Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. I'm here with Karen Jehanian, who is the owner and president of KMJ Consulting Incorporated, an innovative transportation engineering consulting firm that focuses on improving mobility. Her firm is located outside of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and Karen has been an entrepreneur since she was 8 years old, and that is her true passion. She likes to best herself and continually improve while helping others to do the same. In her spare time, she volunteers, reads, plays golf, and takes long walks on the beach. And now that the summer is here in Maine, Karen, I am also enjoying that beach. But that's just a little intro for everyone. So tell us more about you and your own humble beginnings.
Okay, well, hi Jody. It's really nice to be on your show, and I'm looking forward to our exchange today. Well, I am the oldest of three siblings, and we grew up in a working class family. My dad was an electrical contractor, and my mom, until I entered college, took care of us and basically, managed the household, managed us, managed my dad, and to a certain extent managed his business as well. When I started college, my mom went back to work after close to 20 years, and as a legal secretary. And frankly, I think it took a lot of courage for her to do that after such a long time. And while she was working at this law firm, we also had the advent of computers. So she went from a manual typewriter to an electric typewriter at home, and then suddenly she has this whole computer thing that she had to learn. And I think, looking back on it, the courage that she had to do that was an inspiration to me, and I think to my siblings as well, to see that that our mom, who took care of us, was able to go back to work. And growing up, I was surrounded by entrepreneurs. Obviously, my dad, my brother and I used to go to work with him in the summers, and that involved pushing him around on the scaffolding when he was at the top. And from time to time, when we had some friends who, were installing a swimming pool and that required lighting. We would help my dad pull the wires through the conduit. So from pretty early age, we had an idea of what it meant to have your own business. And actually, currently, all three of us, my brother and my sister and I, have our own businesses. And so I think that's kind of telling. I guess another inspiration or background, kind of background sounds that we grew up with were from our grandparents. They were all survivors of the Armenian genocide, and when they came to this country, they started from scratch. But while none of them had their own business, they each had a fantastic work ethic and very strong family values, because most of them had lost many of their family members, and that therefore had great meaning to them. And I think, Armenians coming to the United States, they basically did three things. They would build a church, open a school, and then start a business. So this is the environment in which I was raised. And then I guess around the seventh grade, I knew that I wanted to own my own business, and I went to junior achievement and participated in that and really learned a lot from that experience. And I somehow, landed in civil engineering, and I went to Drexel that has a co-op program, and went through several different jobs, and then I had an opportunity to start my own business, and with a partner, and so I seized that opportunity. And that's kind of how I got to where I am today.
Wow. You've had a lot of inspiration in your life. And I'm very moved by your story and your grandparents. I really get a sense of the deep roots your family has put down here. And they've worked hard, to make a life for themselves and for their children, and to make sure that their children were inspired, to see the vision through too. That really comes through in everything you're sharing, Karen. It's so amazing. And, it's hard to imagine that anyone given that kind of support system and that upbringing would ever have a moment of doubt, right, about themselves or what they're doing, any shifts in confidence. But you and I both know that that's not true. That we're human beings, and it doesn't matter what kind of support system we have. We all have our moments of doubt where we don't really know our true value and what we're capable of. And I like to call those our playing small moments. So if you don't mind, take us back to a time when you were playing small. You may not have been aware of it at the time, but realized it in retrospect. Share with us that story and the lessons you've learned.
Well, I think you're right about that, and about the part of when you have such a strong support system. I was grew up in a very patriarchal society that from time to time I had conflict with. And probably, believe it or not, I think my biggest playing small moment was when I thought that I needed a business partner. And I I quit my job, and I started to go into business with someone, and then mostly because I didn't think that I could do it on my own. And partway through that process, before we actually, incorporated and things, I realized that I was making a big mistake, and that in fact I could do it on my own. And it's one of those moments where I wasn't comfortable, and that's how I knew that it just wasn't right, and that regardless of what the struggle ahead of me was going to present, because when I quit my job, I essentially said I wasn't going to work for anyone again, and that I was going to do things on my own. But I did, ultimately um, think that I needed a partner, and then I realized that was a big mistake. So that I think that was my biggest playing small moment. Although I have to say I've had a number of them since that time as well.
Yes, haven't we all? Because we all have that next level that we can get to, and we don't know if we're capable of it, right? We're still exploring that. So there's always room to grow. But Karen, I just want to say, that's amazing. And I want to say, like, congratulations and kudos, because you were uncomfortable. That's the way you described it, right? You were getting a sense that this was not the right decision, and you acted on it. And I know so many women who have that feeling like something's not right, this doesn't feel good, but they logic their way through it, right? And talk themselves out of making any changes because it doesn't make sense. We've already put all this energy and effort into it. What would I say to this business? So in this case, what would I say to this business partner? I could ruin the relationship, yada, 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 yada. All of that stuff starts going through our head when we start to feel uncomfortable and think about what it would take to take action on it. But you did. And my goodness, look at you now. You have your own business. You've had your own business for several years, and you've been successful. So you clearly made the right decision.
I think so.
I think so too.
And I think that our staff feels the same way, and it seems as though, like, the engineering community in which we exist, has taken note of it. And one of the reasons that I created the company was because I really wanted to create a more friendly and supportive culture. So, and that's how that was the basis for founding KMJ, and it was with the intention of, creating an atmosphere that inspires creativity and that our people care about each other as much as our work product and our clients. So, it feels like it's the right thing, and I think that as we've moved forward, we've gotten validation that in fact it is.
Awesome. All right, Karen, now share with us a time in your journey when you had a wake up call. For some people, it's like a lightning bolt moment, and for others, it's more of a slow awakening that ends up, coming together in a moment of action. So take us back to that moment and share with us the steps you took that led to your success.
So that's a really interesting question. And and you're right. Sometimes it's evolutionary, and there are, and sometimes you have to hear the same thing multiple times. And I think for
Yes.
me, unfortunately, as self-aware as I would like to think that I am, there are times that I just need to hear the same story repeatedly. And this one in particular was that I think, as for me as a woman, I many times go to that, typical fallback. Oh, this is happening because I'm a woman. And if I were a guy, I wouldn't have this issue. But what I discovered, and I discovered this because a group of my classmates, for some time we've been meeting on a monthly basis, and uh, we all went to Drexel. We have all essentially stayed in the Philadelphia area, and we've kind of grown up in the environment and in the same engineering community, and we all work together. So one day we were sitting around and having conversation. I started telling the guys about this problem that I was having with one of my employees, and one of the guys looked at me and said, "Oh, I have that situation on a daily basis." And I thought, "Really? I thought it was just me." And he said, "No, and this happens to me all the time." And I said, "Well, what do you do about it?" And he said, "I tell the person to get the hell out of my office and go and solve the problem on their own." And that, while it might seem like it's a minor occurrence, I finally, like, it woke me up and said, "Okay, you don't have to accept what everyone is tossing into your open mind, and sometimes it's garbage, but you can just say no, and you put up the stop sign, and it's not because I'm a woman, it's just because that's how the person is."
Mhm.
So that, once my colleague told me that story, that definitely was a life-changing occurrence for me.
Yes. Oh my goodness, Karen, my brain is firing right now because anyone who's in business, right, and any person who's a doer, an action taker, a problem solver, can relate to the experience of people constantly coming to them with problems, right? Or with more work. Or can you do this? Can you volunteer? Can you take this on? And we have to set limits because yes, we have I can honestly say, and I know this is probably true about you too as well, you have a really big bandwidth, but you also have priorities. And there are also things that really need your attention. And I had a client one time come to me with this issue where he was the business owner and people kept coming into his office with problems, and he would just take them on. And then at the end of the day, realize he hadn't gotten any of his own work done because he was doing everyone else's work. And so, through a conversation, he came up with this system that he was going to use, or more of a strategy, where when someone comes to his office with a problem or comes to him with an issue, he's going to imagine that they have a monkey on their shoulder. And his job is to make sure when they leave his office, the monkey is still on their shoulder.
Absolutely. I don't want it on mine. And also, I'm trying to build capacity within the individual. So if I continually answer their questions, then it's it's not good for them, and it certainly isn't good for the company. And and many times it's a struggle because
Yeah.
I want to collaborate with them. I want to create, that the friendly culture, but sometimes I have to just put my hand up and say, "No, you need to go back and solve this one on your own." And I'll try and ask them some questions to get them to think about what the
Yeah.
solution might be.
Yes. like point them in the right direction, you're absolutely right. Because if you're always solving the problem for them, you're actually doing them a disservice because they never develop that research muscle or that critical thinking or problem solving muscle that's so important to have, I'm sure, for them in the next phase of their career.
Absolutely. And in the next phase of our company as well, because while
Mhm.
I kind of, I don't want to make myself, indispensable, but in order to have growth, each person has to build, a core capacity within themselves as well.
Absolutely. And this conversation is a really good segue to the next question I want to ask you, which is about your leadership style. Because, we all have different personality styles, we have all different backgrounds and experience, and, we all have different strengths when it comes to leading. And that's okay. It actually takes a lot of different styles to make up a high functioning team as well. So it's great that we all have different leadership styles. So, Karen, how would you describe your leadership style?
Well, I think it's collaborative. At least that's what I would like to think that it is. I'm sure that from time to time it becomes authoritative when someone needs to
Right.
make a decision. But I like to envision us in a rowboat, and that we're all rowing in the same direction, together as a team. So when we have staff meetings, one of which we'll have today, I like to go around the room and have input from each person. I don't and really to collaborate. That's what gets me going. Like to problem solve together and to come up with a resolution that works, for pretty much everyone.
So fun. Such a fun process. And Karen, I'm curious, because we're all faced with new challenges, is there anything that's currently like your biggest leadership or business challenge that you're faced with right now?
So we have a few because, like any company, there are always challenges, but we have also, so in the 18 years or so that I've been in business, what I've noticed is that it's kind of like the stock market. Our revenues will take off and then they'll back off a little bit and then take off again. So we're in one of those uh growth modes. So, things backed off a little bit last year, and this year I think we're setting up, I'm teeing up for a good growth mode. So in order to do that, we have to, make sure that our staff are all, kind of up for that challenge, and that each person is like a little business development pod, I like to think of it as. So I think our big thing that we're working on now is to educate everyone, to get them into the right mindset so that we can move forward and move up. So from a company standpoint, that's one of the things that I'm doing.
Hmm. And what's one thing you're working on right now that you're really excited about?
Well, outside of the company,
Oh.
um, one of the things that I do, I'm involved with Drexel's Close School of Entrepreneurship, and I've guest lectured for that school a couple of times, and last year I was a co-instructor for a course called Launch It, and I'm hoping that in September I'm going to start teaching a course in entrepreneurship. So, we'll see how that goes. It's not a set in stone yet, but teaching is really, really interesting. It has really helped me to kind of expand my mind and and understand people more. Which,
Mm.
as an engineer, you can imagine that's been I wouldn't say a challenge, but it's something that we have to work on as engineers.
Right, right. And teaching at the college level allows for more collaborative discussions like you enjoy.
Yes,
So there's that opportunity
yes.
as well. And Karen, since we haven't really gotten into it up until this point, I was wondering if you could, for the people who are listening, give us an overview of your business. I know you do engineering, it's transportation engineering, focusing on mobility. But if you could describe a couple of the projects that you have going on as well to kind of give people an idea of the work that you do day to day.
Oh, terrific. So, we're civil engineers, And we deal with the public quite frequently. So one of the aspects of our work is stakeholder involvement. And almost at every step of the way of even our regular work, we are dealing with issues, civic issues. And one of the things that I think areas that resonate the most with individuals is we design handicap ramps, curb ramps, they're called. And one of the ways that I found I was able to inspire our staff is to show them some photos of friends who I have who are confined to a wheelchair. And we have lots of calculations and tabulations and forms to complete and all kinds of stuff to do relative to designing this curb ramp and making sure that from an engineering standpoint, it's up to code. But when you get to the heart of it, the purpose behind a curb ramp being designed properly is so that a person in the wheelchair can navigate it without popping a wheelie or toppling headfirst because of a poorly designed ramp. And when I showed some of these images to our staff, I think it really resonated with them to the point where we had done a guest lecture to a civil engineering class, and the opening statement that our staff made to the class was, at any time, any of us could be confined to a wheelchair. And it was such a powerful statement that we had the attention, almost undivided, of all 35 students in the class. So as civil engineers, when you think about how you're benefiting society with the work that we do, it's very powerful, and it's something that I try and keep the forefront of the minds of our engineers, so that we're not just preparing plans and studies, that in fact there is a societal benefit that's being reaped from the work that we do.
That is powerful. Wow. You had me speechless. That is a powerful statement when you think about, like, oh yeah, people, in wheelchairs navigating a curb, that's really tough. But when you bring it on such a personal level, like, that could be me.
Mm-hmm. It's all about the why in pretty much everything that we do. And that's a question that I ask quite frequently. Why are we doing this? And if you realize why, then it's not just a routine task. It has a benefit to society.
Absolutely. I'm listening to the book, The Storyteller Secret, right now. And just yesterday, it got to the part of the book where they were talking about Southwest Airlines and how they created their culture. And they did it by telling stories, customer service stories of them helping people to live their lives. And they had real people, the stories of real customers of theirs who were able to get to a sick parent, be with their daughter when she was giving birth to her first child, like making sure medical supplies were getting to someone who needed them in time. Like when they made what they did real, right? Where people could connect to what's the bigger mission that we're here, who are we serving and what are we actually doing here? They have one of the strongest and most loyal employee base of any company in the US. And it's because of the stories that they tell. They connect what they do to the people that they serve. So amazing.
It really makes a big difference.
Oh, this just made my heart feel good. Like, this is a good day. So, all right,
Karen. I'm glad I could help.
You definitely did. I'm going to go back and listen to this again. But now we're going to go into our leadership roundup, right? Where we're going to ask you about some of the resources and practices that you take on. So to kick us off, what is one practice that you have that helps to make you a better leader?
Well, I pray every day, at least twice, sometimes more, and meditate. It gets my day started off on the right foot. It keeps me calm. And the days that I don't, there's a noticeable difference in how things go. And so I've made that a practice. that I
I
find.
love how you said at least twice because I've also made it a practice to meditate and reflect and pray in the morning, but I find I need that little recharge at some point in the middle of the day
Yeah,
too.
and at the
So,
end of the day, we need to express gratitude and
yeah.
know what went right, and I find that then I have a very good night's sleep after that.
Yeah, when you focus on the positives, because it's so easy to focus on what went wrong and we overlook how many things absolutely went right that day.
Yes, I think, the what went wrong is kind of a survival technique, but it doesn't make for a very happy life.
Right, right. It'll keep you alive.
Mhm.
There's a benefit to it, but it's not what you want to give all your time and attention to.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah. And Karen, what is one book that you would recommend to a woman to help her develop her leadership?
So, oh my gosh, there are so many of them. But I have one that I noticed I go back to quite frequently, and it's called How to Become a Great Boss. And it's by Jeffrey J. Fox. It's a small book, it's rather short, and it has many chapters. And I find that for some reason I go back to this book at least once a year,
Really?
sometimes more often. Mhm.
What is maybe one or two of your favorite tips from the book?
So one of them is it's all about hiring that, kind of like the only hire A's. So A plus A equals A. And that's about attitude and A players, B players, C players. So
Mhm.
you want to hire A players because they will hire other A players. If you hire less than that, then they kind of stay at that level. And really it's all about attitude.
Mhm. Love that. And Karen, what advice would you give your younger self?
I would tell my younger self to play a team sport for sure.
Oh.
Play a team sport. It helps, playing in the sandbox better. And you learn about give and take. As the oldest, maybe I was a little bit um, bossy at at the risk of using that word. But if I
Right.
had played a I don't know. I feel as though if I had played a team sport, things might have been a little bit different. So I would certainly tell myself that, and also to take more risks when I was younger.
And share with us a success quote or a mantra and why it has meaning for you.
I like to tell myself that anything is possible. And it's kind of odd, as an entrepreneur and a person who did take a risk and, pretty much risked everything to do what I'm doing. But I find that there are times that I just don't think that think about the possibilities. And if I tell myself, well, gee whiz, anything is possible, and if I just ask the question instead of assuming that it can't be done, what I found is that I can get what we need, from a company standpoint and also from a personal standpoint.
I love that. Keeps the options open.
Absolutely, and it's made a big difference, and I was surprised at how many times if I just when I just ask, people say yes.
The book I'm reading before I go to sleep at night was recommended by Susan Morris a bunch of episodes ago, but it was Women Don't Ask. And I found myself starting the book getting angry. And then, in my mind went, this is a reminder. This is just a reminder, right? To just ask. Like when you know you need something or you know you want something, to just ask for it because it is possible. And what they found was women often kind of did it to themselves, whether they were, whether we're conditioned to it or not. But more often than not, it was because women didn't ask for what they wanted or needed because they assumed that if it was possible, it would have already happened.
Absolutely, and it's one of those, I forget which science fiction movie it's from, but you play kind of the mind game that you look at the person in the eye and you say something positive or actionable that you want them to take, and then the next thing they in fact have done that. It happened. It actually happened to me at the flower shop the other day. A guy said, this flower looks a little wilted, and I said, so you're going to give it to me for half price, right? And he said yes.
The Jedi mind tricks.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
taking
it.
that one on. I love it. Oh, Karen. All right. So, Karen, tell us, what is the best way for this community to connect with you? Because you've been a ton of fun and people are going to want to know you more.
Terrific. So, through our website, it's www.kmjinc.com. And on our homepage at the very bottom, I think, is a little profile of me, and my email address is there.
Awesome. Thank you for that. And for those of you who are listening, you can find all the links and resources shared in this episode at womentakingthelead.com. And Karen has said it multiple times in this episode. She loves collaborating. So reach out to her, tell her she did a good job, and maybe ask for something. So, Karen, thank you so much for taking the time to inspire and enlighten us. We are all better for having met you.
Thanks so much, Jody. And I really appreciate being on the show, and look forward to your future episodes.
Thank you for joining me on Women Taking the Lead. Are you ready to take the lead in your own life? Head over to womentl.com/recognized to reserve your spot in my upcoming webinar on how to be recognized and rewarded for the work that you do. And to strengthen you on your leadership journey, I'd like to send you off with a quote from Marianne Williamson. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine, as children do. We were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It's not just in some of us, it's in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. Again, thank you for joining with me, and here's to your success.